Great. Thanks, Fran. I'm Rita. So welcome back to Presentation Ideas 2019. It's been an interesting ride, lots of technical glitches, which I apologize for, and we'll have to see if we can solve those before our next year. But some great presentations by some fantastic people. And I'm so glad for those of you who've been able to attend. So my name is Garland Coulson. I'm your final presenter. I am the marketing director of PresentationPoint, the person who put together this conference. And I present a lot on things like productivity, time management, digital marketing, and things like that. So, and I also work with a lot of different clients, PresentationPoint. So I've seen a lot of great things that people are doing out there. So the topic today is going to be creating KPI dashboards in PowerPoint. So first off, what is a KPI? So KPI is just a short form. Everybody loves to do the acronyms and stuff like that for key performance indicator. So it's really just means key, key performance indicator. So key performance indicators are going to be different for everybody, depending on your organization or your industry. For example, your human resources department would likely have different key performance indicators than your sales department or than your customer satisfaction department, or the government uses certain economic indicators to indicate how things are going. And there's KPIs, for everything, for healthcare, agriculture, fishing, mining, retail. So no matter what the industry is or the field is or your business or your organization is, there's key performance indicators that are likely important to you. So an example of this might be some financial KPIs. So let's say if you own a business or you're managing a business, you'd want to be looking at things, such as sales growth and what's your net profit margin. If you find your net profit margins going down, even as your sales are going up, then you've got a problem with your profitability. Your operating cash flow, making sure you have enough cash flow to meet all of your requirements, accounts receivable, are you collecting all of the money owed to you quickly enough, and how fast is your inventory turning over? So these are just some common ones in that particular field. Human resources might measure key performance indicators such as absenteeism, employee productivity, how engaged the employees are, internal promotion rate, what was the quality of your latest hires, high performer turnover rate. If your high performers are turning over a lot, that would indicate, gee, my best people are always the ones leaving, so that there's probably a problem in the organization. How much revenue you're generating per employee, and how long it takes you to fill when you have an opening. So all of these are things you can monitor, things that you can get numbers for, and by monitoring them, you can make sure they're being paid attention to. Customer satisfaction KPIs, you've probably all been asked to fill out surveys as to how satisfied you were after you were helped by a support or something like that. First response time, customer retention rate, service quality, any of these kinds of things are just common ones there. So essentially, KPIs are how you measure success. So whatever that success is to you, then that's a KPI is how you're going to measure it. Now, of course, I'm talking about KPI dashboards. So the power of a dashboard, of course, is, as we all know, if we've ever ridden in a vehicle or driven a vehicle, is a dashboard gives you an at-a-glance overview of the key things going on. What's your speed at? How much fuel do you have left? Is the check engine light on? What's the temperature at? So all of these things at a glance you can see, and it's very important to have those. Otherwise, you'll be caught for speeding, or you'll be running out of gas, or your engine will overheat, and it's a horrible problem. So a dashboard is a really good thing to be using in that particular case. So a KPI dashboard is putting the two of them together. It's really just a dashboard to monitor your KPIs in real time. So let's look at a few of these. Now, one of the great things about where I work, and you might have overheard me mention this to Vicky during her presentation, is our clients are incredibly creative. So I don't have to come up with too many of these myself because I can just use what our clients have created. So this is one of our clients, HD Supply, and they've created this KPI dashboard for their manufacturing floor. So they're a very large manufacturing company in the States. They've got a lot of stuff going on. You can see in the center, it shows how the monitor looks right on the factory floor. So they can see at any time what's going on, what these key things are. So over on the left, you see it looks like they're monitoring some CNC machines, which are computer controlled cutting type machines. And it shows the average output and the total and that kind of stuff. On the right-hand side, then it's showing what happens when they're spraying whatever it is they're making, you know, what the average is, how many panels have gone through that day. And they must bake them in the oven because it talks about what's happening in the oven, you know, what's the average, how many panels, and then the packing as well. So it's everything from the cutting to the spraying to the baking, all the way to the packing. So from the start all the way out the door, they're managing their key performance indicators. Sorry about that. I'm recovering from the flu, so I've got a bit of a cold. So it's usually I can have my microphone off most of the time when the other people are presenting and cough off mic. So at a glance, you can see that the foreman in the manufacturing in the factory would be able to see what's going on. Now you notice some of them have little red lights on them, and the little red lights are indicating when there's a problem. So you can set that up as well. So this is a case of where they've got a dashboard that's connected to all of these things in real time, multiple different sources, and they're using PowerPoint to do this, which is really quite interesting because most people don't think you can do anything like this in PowerPoint. Our next client, who wants to remain anonymous, sent us this lovely image, which is really quite interesting. So in the top center area, you'll notice that it shows some equipment. It shows a little map of the, you know, the equipment floor, and it shows some of them are green, and then it shows one of them is red, which means that it's down. So what's happening here is in real time, it's telling us, well, which equipment's working, which isn't. It has an emoticon on the left, which actually changes depending upon whether the equipment's happy or not, whether it's up or not. So right now it's kind of a bit frowny because one of the pieces of equipment is down. On the bottom left-hand side, it says utilization, and that shows the throughput on the equipment. So it shows the actual, you know, what percentage are they at? You see 50507s looks like about 85%, but 50508's only currently at about 65, maybe, yeah, or so, and so on. And it's interesting too, because most people don't realize you can do meters like this in PowerPoint as well, which is another intriguing thing that I'll show you how to do in a little bit. On the top right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that it says what is the details of the equipment down, like the equipment ID, the description of it, what time did it go down, how long has it been down, what's happening to it, who's the user, and the description of the event. In the lower right-hand side, it shows preventative maintenance. So it shows any preventative maintenance coming up in the next 48 hours, so you know what's happening, what's coming up. So it looks fairly simple, this screen, but the fact that it's connected to real-time data, real-time equipment, and it shows a ton of information in a single screen. This is a picture of Sotheby's auction, which is showing, oops, for some reason it must have an automated transition. So Sotheby's auction is set up to, hold on, how do we stop that there? Hold on just a second, sorry, we've got a transition on that one that somehow didn't get, there we go, get rid of timings. See if that works. Sotheby's Auction is one of the largest auction houses in the world, and they have a ton of things going through their auction all the time. They are using our software and PowerPoint in real time to show a picture of the item being sold along with multiple currencies. Isn't that funny how that just keeps going? Oh well. This is Airtindi, who is using a screen to be able to show the flights it's boarding, when it's leaving, where it's at now, and those kinds of things going on. This is a live leaderboard using PowerPoint that was showing updates at a golf tournament. And again, that's done using PowerPoint. So, and this is a storm tracker made by a professional meteorologist using our software to be able to show what's happening in real time in the different areas, where the clouds are, what the temperatures are, and things like that. And this is a financial statement closing process. So what this company has done is they've set it up where they've got a team in Denmark, a team in Israel, and they've got information coming from a bunch of different sources. So there's ERP financial data from their ERP program, Excel. Over in the Israel, they've got the Excel files and some business intelligence reports, and they've put them all in a folder, and then they use our software, PresentationPoint, data point software, to extract all the key performance indicators, and then they use data point to create the reports. Doing this particular method. So I've shown you some really unusual things. So first off, you're saying, well, why would you be doing this in PowerPoint? Well, the first reason we use PowerPoint for these kinds of things is it's widely available. Pretty well everybody's got PowerPoint. You don't have to go looking for it. It's really easy to use. The graphic interface is already there, so we didn't have to design a graphic interface from scratch that would be clunky, because nobody can put as much money as someone like Microsoft can into a software product. So Microsoft is continually making PowerPoint better and better, as you've seen from some of the new things, such as that Chantel showed us during the business office artificial intelligence in the Office suite. So there's just lots of great reasons to use PowerPoint for that. Thousands of templates you can adapt for your own use, and very easy to find designers who can design in PowerPoint. And there's a lot of different add-ons you can use to extend functionality. So let's look at how we did this. What do you need to make a KPI dashboard in PowerPoint? You need a fairly recent version of PowerPoint, 2010 forward. It'll work for 2010, 2013, 2016, or Office 365. And you need our data point add-on for PowerPoint to connect to data sources. Data Point can pull data from over 25 different data formats, and it can pull data from multiple sources into a single presentation. And this is key. If you remember the HD Supply dashboard I showed you the screen, they were pulling information from different pieces of equipment all over their factory, and they wouldn't all be in the same formats, but DataPoint was able to pull them all together. And of course, DataPoint's available at our website at PresentationPoint.com. So what kinds of data can you pull in? Ton of it. You can pull in text files, Microsoft Excel files, RSS feeds, Facebook likes, Google Calendar information. So if you wanted to have information about, when rooms were going to be available or when meetings were booked, you could do that. Google Sheets, JSON, Microsoft Access, Microsoft Exchange. You can add weather to your screens. Microsoft SharePoint, SQL Server and Yammer, MySQL, OData, ODBC, OLEDB, OPC, and etc. Oracle, even Twitter and XML. So almost every common data format out there is supported by DataPoint. So how do you do this yourself? So the first steps are to choose your KPIs, find where the data is for these KPIs, then design your dashboard, and then to connect your data. And it's key when you're going to choose KPIs. You want only the ones most critical to your success, the ones that are really going to make a difference, the ones that by monitoring them regularly, it's going to have an improvement in your business or your organization. So you need to locate, where is this data? What machine has the data? What format does that machine output it in? Where does it save it? What computer reports are used for this? What spreadsheets? What APIs? Or is there a way to export that data? So, and if possible, get all of that data together into one networked folder that you can then access using DataPoint. So to create your dashboard, we're going to step one, we're going to add the label just so we know what numbers we're looking at. Then we're going to create a data connection. Then we're going to add text boxes or graphic images to hold the data. And step four, we're going to connect that data field to the text box so that it can then grab the data in real time. So as you can see, I'm not trying to give Richard Goring any competition at all in graphic design. I deliberately made this as a very, very simple slide so that you could just see what we're doing from a data perspective. And now I'm going to come out of the presentation and just show it to you so you can see what it would look like in PowerPoint. So this is just a standard text box, dessert inventory. This is the label, apple pie, toffee pudding, creme brulee. So the idea here, this could be a dessert inventory at a restaurant maybe. So this tells the servers how many, how many pieces of pie are left, how many toffee puddings there are, and how many creme brulees. Now you'll see up here, I have a data point option in my PowerPoint because data point's an add-on that I've added, much in the same way that there was a bright slide, from Richard Goring's company. So when we click on data point, we're given a whole set of different options here. And I'm going to click on list because this is where we can create connections or see what connections we have. And all the available connections are over here on the left-hand side. And as you can see, it says Facebook page, news, weather, Google Calendar, all the ones we talked about before, they're showing here as well. Oh, if I wanted to add a new connection, I'd go add new, but right now I'm just going to show you how I did the existing one. So what I did was I created just a really simple Excel spreadsheet to show the data that we have for here. So in this case, I created a Microsoft Excel connection. I did add connection to Microsoft Excel. Then I browsed for it until I found it, and then you can see I just browsed on my hard drive until I found it. And then once I did that, I created a query that's going to look at that database, that spreadsheet. And you see I have a simple table, just with 3 items: apple pie, toffee pudding, and creme brulee. So creme brulee you'll see is currently 1. And if I edit this query, I can choose how often do I want it to update: every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, every 30 seconds, etc. So you can control here how fast it's going to look at this. There's also an advanced option that gives you some things such as, to be able to do some sorts and do a lot of other stuff, but we won't get into them here because that's probably a little more complex than we want to do on the first section. But basically what's happening is it's found the Google worksheet, found the range. The first row does contain field names, so I did that, and I can choose how often that's going to update. So let's choose maybe 15 seconds or 10 seconds. Let's go 5. Okay, and so we'll choose that. So now we've got it's all set up there that it's going to have this in place. So it will automatically work from that spreadsheet. I'm just going to open up the spreadsheet on another side here. Now, the next step, so I'll just show you the spreadsheet here. So as you can see, it's not a particularly complex spreadsheet. I haven't had to do anything weird to it. I'm just able to do that. So, and now I'm going to change, let's say we found 2 more creme brulees, so we're now up to 3. So good news is we found some more, so that will help. And I'm not sure how fast it will happen here because I'm not really running it as a presentation, but at some point it will then update this number to there. And as I say, if I'm running the presentation and I had it checking live in real time, it would be updating it in real time. Now, what I do to connect these are just text boxes, so they're nothing really too complex there. So what I wanted to do is, I want to connect this to wherever the apple pie information is. So what I do is I go data point, then I go text box. You see now that I've created the text box, I've got a choice there. I can connect it to text box, graph, meter, chart, lots of different things. But we'll go text box, and then it says, of which data connection do I want to use? So these are all the different data connections. So I chose dessert inventory. And then it shows me the which column do I want to use, and I could choose which one, and then which row, and you see it gives me a preview. So it's showing me I can easily connect any box or any graphic to this. With the creme brulee, I did something slightly different. I did the same connection there, but what I did was I decided I want people to know when it's kind of short. So then I went and started to play with some of the options. So you see, we've just been using connection, but you can do a ticker, you can do texts, you could do a prefix or a suffix, which would let you do, say if you had degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius, you could do that. You can alternate text boxes, and you can do dynamic fonts, which is great in case you've got sometimes where some of the choices that come back might be bigger than expected. You can format it by currency, type, percentage. The rules is what I use, though, to make the back red. And what I did was I said, if creme brulee is less than 4, change the back color to red. Oh, and you see it's now changed because it's gone through and checked that. So now it's back, it's at 3. So, and if I went through and changed that to, say, 5, then the background would no longer be red. And if you guys have questions about what I'm doing here, do put them in the chat. Questions, comments, those kinds of things. This is a really simplistic version, but I wanted to show you all those really lovely, fancy things that our clients have done. At its core, this is how they did it. They really just did it by connecting text boxes or graphic images to these. They used that rule. That was how HD Supply added the little red lights to some of the things to indicate when there's a problem for one. Okay, and I can come back to this one as well, but I'm going to show you a slightly prettier one, so it's a little bit better. And so this is a live weather one. So what I've done here is I've used the weather option in data point. So I've gone to the list and I've created the weather feed here, as you see. And the weather previews the data and shows all the different data available. So once again, I've got that there. So what I did was I created the text box here, and then I chose data point, and I chose to connect that text box to the weather in Edmonton, and I chose to connect it to the now temperature. Now it gives you a ton of options here. You can see how it says now feels like, wind speed, to today's temperature, day 1, day 2, like it actually shows stuff for the next number of days. So there's a ton of different weather information you can get here. So great question from Melody. Do your clients in general come from using other dashboards, or was this their first foray into a live dashboard? Do clients generally start small and play around and make it more impressive over time? So 2 questions. So do our clients in general come from using other dashboards, or was this their first foray into a live dashboard? A lot of our clients have definitely tried other dashboards before they came to us, and many of them say, that ours is the only one that did what they needed it to do, the only one that could pull it from such a wide range of different information. And what they like is it was so easy to work with because it was in PowerPoint. But that they could go, wow, once they were able to tell their management team that we can use PowerPoint to manage this, they were really, really pleased with that. So we do get some people where we might be their first dashboard they find, but a lot of our clients have tried multiple dashboards and then they try that. Do they usually start small and play around and make it more impressive? Usually people download our free trial and they play with it for a bit, and then once they've proven, oh wow, this does what we need it to do, then they expand over time, and eventually they find other uses for it too. Like once you've got something that can monitor, say, live sales results, then your human resources department might go, well, why wouldn't I also, monitor employee absenteeism and these kinds of things? And customer service goes, why wouldn't we measure that? So it definitely expands over time, Melody, that people find more and more things that they can use it for. Some people close their financial statements with it. It's just amazing how many different things. So back to the weather one. So the cool thing about the weather one too is in this case, you'll see that we've got an actual picture here that we've connected to data. And so we've connected it to weather icons. So you can actually connect it so the picture will change as well. Now remember that spreadsheet we had back for the dessert inventory? If that spreadsheet had also had a picture, then we could be putting a picture in here that would also change for the apple pie and the toffee pudding based upon what was available for that time. So VD Blasi asks, when you're using a real-time website, how does it update at all times while it's running? I'm using DataPoint, but I'm not getting the updates in real time. Just the first update at the time I load PowerPoint. Okay, so part of that would be, and I don't know your specific situation, and this is probably a perfect one for you to put a support ticket in, because our team is really good at fixing these kinds of things or figuring out what's gone wrong. But that could be likely if we go to DataPoint and we go to list and we go to the query, such as my dessert data query, edit the query. It could be the continuous updating, like how is that set for? Because if continuous updating was set for, say, 60 seconds or 60 minutes, then it's not going to update until it's been running for 60 minutes. Like it will update when it first opens, but then it won't update again. So it's totally based upon this. You can also choose this. You might have this set for your data refresh rate might be set for only once at the opening of the presentation. So that could be it too. Another potential possibility is I'm not sure what your data is from or what source, but let's say, for example, if you type in a new number in Excel, but you haven't saved it or it's not set to autosave, then because it hasn't saved, the program isn't finding any new data because the new data is not saved. So I would suggest it's most likely this, either it's only set to refresh once at the beginning, or it's set for too long of an interval here, or I would say that maybe your data is not being saved regularly. But again, this is a technical one that we'd have to look into. And if it's something we're getting data from, we can definitely figure that out. But thanks for asking the question. So the weather too, like I've only finished the Edmonton one here, but it also showing icons for the next 3 days, showing the wind, and all this is real time. So a little bit of work to set up because it seems finicky because you're having to connect each text box or each picture to a data source. But once you do that, it's set and forget. It's there every day. So, and this is used by a lot of people in coffee shops to show the outside weather, or you can show news. You can show really anything you want, any number or anything you want. So. Now, I'd mentioned before that you can do meters in PowerPoint, which is really quite weird for most people. They're going, how would you do a meter? So here's just a really simple meter. And again, I'm using really simple examples deliberately so that you don't get worried about all the background and the pretty, because you can set up all this yourself. And then if you got somebody on your team who's talented with the graphics, or you can hire people like from some of the presentation companies we've had presenting here who make things look amazing. You can hire them to do that. But if the data is working, it's working, then you can make it look pretty later. Sorry, haven't had to speak this long. So this is an image, but it's really two images. So you see, the first image is that background. The minimum, maximum volume is there. The second image is this other little picture on top that is there. And as you can see, if I turn it like this, it will rotate. So what I did was I've connected this one to data point as a meter to a spreadsheet. Where I want to put in, what's the example here? And so in this particular case, the spreadsheet has a number of 75. Then I can choose what do I want the minimum maximum values to be, and I can use the current rotation as minimum maximum. And then I can set that, and it will then automatically move that data to go to where I need it to be. And once again, I can set this to how fast I want it to update. Do I want it to update really quickly? So I'll go to the query here. Let's go 5 seconds again. And here's my meter example. Once again, most basic boring spreadsheet in the world, but let's go with 45 instead of the other one. And then once it does the update, it will do that. And there you go. And you can see that it's automatically changed to that. So whatever that number is, now keep in mind, this could be a continually updating data. I'm showing spreadsheets because spreadsheets are really simple and you all work with spreadsheets somewhat and you understand them. But that could have been any of the data sources we talked about before. It could be that can be feeding the meter or feeding feeding all this. So. And can I get a copy of your presentation today? Yes, we are recording. We will make this available for everybody. And we've also got tons on our website of how to do these kinds of things. Kurt's got an in-depth one of just how to do the meters if you want to do just the meters. So that's one as well. And so there's definitely, we'll make sure that that's available to you guys. So any questions about KPIs and dashboards and how we're doing this? Thanks, Melody. Glad you found it useful. It's amazing what can be done. I mean, and as I say, I'm really fortunate that I've got such wonderfully creative customers that I work with, and they send me screenshots, kind of like, look what I made, Garland, and I'm like, ooh, that's awesome. Can I write an article about it? And it's just so amazing how I get to see this stuff, and I get to see how they do it. So Melody says, I don't even know where the data is. It's format or how easy to obtain it. So that'd be the first step, is talk to your tech people. They who hold the key to the data, who may, work with you, hopefully, on showing how where the data is. But for the most part, if you think about it, almost all data now is ending up on a computer at some point. And if it's ending up in a computer, it can either be accessed as a simple text or Excel file, or likely it's going to be able to export to an Excel or a text file. I can't imagine any data source that cannot export to an Excel file. And in that case, once you're golden, because once you've got it into something like an Excel or text file, you win. You can do all sorts of amazing things with that data. So. And Melody says, I'd love to make some simple ones. Yeah, and do you can do sample demo data too, like I've done here with just a few spreadsheets. So don't worry if you're not sure, but show them an example that could be done. So there's tons of, think of any kind of numbers, statistics, information you'd like to do. And, and lots of different sources. For example, the Sotheby's auction source was done through a Microsoft Access database, and it was automatically showing the bids in 6 different currencies. I mean, that's amazing to me. That that just has so much of a that was so intriguing to me that they could do that. So what, Melody has a great question. What about an Excel spreadsheet that automatically exports from a data source daily? Would you have to go back in each time to reconnect? Would the Excel spreadsheet just saving itself over and over cause the update? I think I answered my own question in my head. I think you might have. But basically, if the spreadsheet is named the same and in the same location, so remember the data connection here is through this list command on data point. So as long as it's always in the same point, then same place. So as long as that spreadsheet's always there, then it's going to work. So if I go to the meter example, we go, oops, not add query, my mistake. If we go to edit connection, you'll see the spreadsheets there. So I want to do a new connection, for example, for something here. I'll just go text box, or let's just go to I'll do a brand new connection that doesn't mean anything. So if we go to data point, list, and then we go add connection, let's say it's of a Excel spreadsheet. So you go add connection, then really you're just browsing your hard drive. So you can browse to anywhere. So it's as long as you're saving it and keeping it always in the same name or the same format, then yes, it should be fine. You might, if you're exporting to Excel, you might want to need a macro or something to get whatever program you're exporting from to work. But, and our tech support people are really good about helping with these kinds of things. Couple of other things I'll mention. PresentationPoint, I don't know how much you guys know about us, but obviously you're following us because you came here. So PresentationPoint's been running over 21 years. Kurt, who did the presentation yesterday and stepped in when my computer crashed for hosting, founded it over 21 years ago. Our head office is in Belgium. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. We've been doing this for 21 years, so very a lot of great amount of experience. We have over 10,000 satisfied customers, including some people you might recognize, such as Volkswagen, British Airways, GM, McDonald's, Nikon, Boeing, NASA, SpaceX. There's just tons of people, Samsung, that, people who are using our information for data and things like that. And, so that's the kinds of people we work with, and we're really responsive. We have a lot more help. The data point tool that I demonstrated here is from PresentationPoint.com. So you can download it there. There's a free trial if you want to play with it. One thing whenever you're downloading a free trial is make sure you've set aside a block of time first to work on that thing that week, because free trials are usually like 15 days. And then I've done that before. I've downloaded the tool. I really wanted to try it, and then I got busy. And then 2 weeks later, I go to use it. No, crap, the trial's expired. So it's really, really important that you do that. And we do work with resellers. So if there's some of you here, and there's probably a few of you in the room who are PowerPoint designers, we have all of our tools are available for resellers and affiliates, and we love to work with you, and we do training for our affiliates on how to approach your clients. We even help you with such things as if you're doing a proposal for a client and you want us to check to make sure you've got the number of licenses right, or you want some input, we can send you a sample of one of our proposals. So there's tons of ways that we work with people on all of this. Some of our other software that we have software for digital signage. We have software for managing queue management in waiting rooms and things like that. We get for Facebook, for Twitter, so there's just tons of things we do. So yeah, do keep us in mind for things. So any questions about the things we've talked about here? What kind of things do you think your team might like to track, Melody? Thanks, Carrie. Quest coming in from the field. Yep, numbers, subject. Yeah, I was meeting with prospective client, and they had this big, huge whiteboard that covered a wall on one side, and they were tracking where all their trucks were out in the field with cranes, with the cranes and the operators, and so they needed a way to see at a glance if there was somebody available, if a new client needed one. And so we were showing them how this could be done using data point that they could and they could grab some of the information directly from they were using some apps to be able to have their field people enter where they were out in the field and stuff like that. So we were showing how they could automate this by having it pull information directly from the data source that the apps were using. Yeah, turnaround time and responding to an internal request. Yeah, now are you using, I don't want to get too deep into your own specific situation or make you give me too much information, but if you're using any sort of a support ticket management system or like some sort of a field management system, chances are that data can be exported. I'm pretty sure that, that information's somewhere there. Any questions about not only this, but if you guys want to ask me, I'm a very experienced presenter. You guys want to ask even general questions about presenting, about any of these kinds of things, then yeah, happy to help. And if you guys do use data point and you do create something, please send me a screenshot, screenshots, videos, pictures. Of whatever you're doing with it live, because I love to do this. And on our website, we on our website we have a whole section set aside just for case studies and things. And I love doing these, and there's some of our favorite parts on the website, like our people tell us, is the case studies, because they can see what other people have done. So many of the ones I've shown here are there, but here's a world time clock using PowerPoint that's done in the museum area. Here's where we've created personalized videos using data point, which is great fun. Here's where a museum uses us for digital signage. So good question. Melody's asking, do you see Microsoft putting more effort into PowerPoint in the future? Seems like a step away from Articulate at this point. So, I don't know if you also saw Chantel's presentation on the artificial intelligence in Office 365. But yes, I've seen huge improvements in PowerPoint just in the last few months. So they're continuing, obviously, to put a lot into it, and it is a big reason why a lot of people are using PowerPoint instead of alternatives. We won't discuss alternatives here, but in truth, let's see, I could probably get by with the alternatives for Word or Excel because they're all pretty decent, but the alternatives to PowerPoint just aren't quite there yet. And the changes that Microsoft has made lately are a huge part of that to me. So I've certainly seen that. I don't know how many of you might be Microsoft MVPs and you might get updated about what they're planning on doing in future, but I'm certainly impressed by just the changes I've seen with that. So. Few other things, City of Winter Springs is using our data software to control how long people talk at city meetings. So have you ever been at meetings that go over time? There's a good example there of how that can be done. Use data point to create certificates for students at a school, along with what country they're from and their achievements and things like that. So just tons. I've got a financial services company here in Alberta that automates presentations. So what used to take them about 8 hours to put together takes them probably an hour or two now. So we have digital signage at a fruit farm, where they're selling stuff. Red Cross in Mexico uses our software to uses our software in order to be able to update people on things. So Amrita has a question. For display purpose, what format should it be exported into? So good question. I showed you the 25 different kinds of data formats we can use. But in addition to that, for example, in the Excel files, you could actually include pictures in there, like a URL to where there's pictures. And so then you can include pictures in standard formats such as JPEG and PNG and stuff like that. So really any sort of a data file, common is Microsoft Excel and text files. RSS feeds can be used. XML and JSON are very common online to be used. MySQL is also very common online. We can access that. So, so see what format it's in, see if we can already accommodate it. And if not, usually there's some sort of a conversion process to get into the other formats. And just because I've shown you some really unpretty ones here, I mean, don't think they have to look like that. I mean, I've shown you some of the other things that can be done, which are much prettier than what I've done, with Airtindi and Sotheby's and these kinds of things. And I love the fact that Sotheby's, like, it's showing 6 different currencies here, and that's all in real time. And that they use an Access database for that. Microsoft Access is what it is at its core. And the secret of data. Okay, I'm going to give you all the secret of data. The secret of data is it all looks like this at its core. The secret of data is all just tables and numbers. So almost all the data you see online, when you get into the data level of it, it's a table with numbers and text. So almost all of it is already in computer format in that level somewhere. Now, there might be some issues. Is how do you get numbers for something that isn't normally numbered or counted? So, for example, let's say something along the lines of how many things come off the end of the assembly line. Maybe you don't have a counter there. Maybe you need to rig a little counting machine that then outputs to a simple Excel file. So you can think of some interesting things that way. Kurt did something really fun. He set up at the town hall where he lives, he set up a Bluetooth button connected to a little database that people could use so they could just push a physical button every time they wanted to change the number for the next person to come up. So you can connect your data with physical things as well, which is kind of fun to give this some thought. And again, here's other ones, care homes, Aerospace Academy, museum that's using it to display tickets. And it's kind of interesting here because the museum, when they're displaying the event coming up and the tickets, they can display sold out. So automatically, once the last ticket's sold, it will come across the screen using that rules idea, right? So you remember with the rules, you can change that. I changed it to show as not as being done there. And the rules are really quite amazing too, because the rule that I did was very simple here because the rule just changed the background. Okay, so that was very simple. But I could have done a lot more with that. What I could have done was something along the lines of data point. Here we go. Sorry, I wasn't connected on it. Text box, rules. So in this case, I changed the background, but I could have something be visible or not. So for example, I could hide it when it came down to 0. Right, so that would be another option I could do. Change the fore color. There's other things like that. So there's a lot of things you can do to do this, and I could use the less than, greater than, equal. So there's a lot more that can be done. And if we go add rule, okay, yeah, so that's all done there. Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that can be done when you're creative. So what do you guys think? Is this give you some ways you might be able to show your data a little more interestingly? Melody says she's percolating. Okay. And definitely contact me, Melody, when you get doing some demos, because I'd love to see what you guys do with it. So What's the easiest way to freeze data in time? I've been disconnecting, but wonder if there's an easier way. Yes, there is a special tool in DataPoint for that called snapshotting. And what it will do is it will give you a new presentation generated based upon the current information from your data sources. So if we think about it from a perspective of, think of it as generating a report. So it will generate a report, and you can choose how often this is going to be done. So you might, let's say you had a financial statement. So your finances are showing up-to-date sales every day. But let's say you go, crap, I forgot to write down the number of yesterday's sales. You could have this every day creating that snapshot. So, and now you see it's created a temporary one with all the data, but this data is a snapshot, so this data will not change. So that's what it's done there. It's created a snapshot of that. How to create a new data format that's not on the list. Well, what you do then is you say, Kurt. So what we do is we first off, you mean a data format, not a date format, I'm assuming, Lily, right? So if there's a data format you want to get in, and it's not one of the over 25 ones here, you've got some really unusual sorts of data. If it is a common data format that is used that we just somehow haven't gotten to it yet, put in a support ticket and we will work on it over time. We're continually adding new features. We're continually adding new data sources. So we are continually working to get more and more data sources here. If a temporary fix is most data systems, as I said, will export to one of these. And these are the most common data sources on the internet. I mean, I'm not sure what data source we're missing here, right? Like these are pretty well all the major computer-based ones there. But if you have a new one, pop us a note. We'll look into it and see how hard it is. And if there's enough people using it worldwide, we would certainly look at doing it. If it's data in a single, you got one weird machine that puts out in some really odd format, then maybe we have to look at, is there a way to format it? Oh, date format. Okay, sorry. A date format that's not on the default. Ooh, okay. What were you looking at here? Oops, somehow it's put me in the temporary files too. So a date format that's not on the default. Okay. So if we go to the text box format, here we go. So we go date and time. So it's got a fair number here. But if you have a date format that's not supported here, definitely send Kurt a support ticket on that. I'm sure that's not that difficult for him to add. Just to tell stories about Kurt, because I don't think he's here right now, so I can tell stories. Kurt is like an amazing, unassuming guy who's fantastic with customers and customer requests. One customer loved our queue management software called Counterpoint, but he said, "Oh, but it'd be really nice if it made a beep or something like whenever the new number came up." And within 2 weeks, Kurt not only added where you could choose where you could choose a noise when it came up, but he also had put text to voice where it would read aloud, "Now serving number 43." So that's the kind of support that Kurt gives, just so you're all aware of the kind of person behind this. And he's fantastic to work with. I've worked with him for about 5 years. So I don't have the 21 years experience in that case. Can DataPoint connect to Salesforce? I don't think it's a direct connection, but I would love if you could put that in as a support ticket. Salesforce, however, does export in formats that we can handle. So you could probably set up a macro easily within Salesforce to export on whatever basis you needed, and that could be done. I imagine Salesforce is using its own format, right? So Salesforce does work with CSV. Definitely, because they allow you to upload. So I can't imagine any reputable company at this point not letting you export your data into like a comma separated or Excel format. It would be like the kiss of death. I mean, if you can't even export to the most common format in the world, how would you be in business? So yes, I'm sure that Salesforce is, at least for the upload, it looks like they support it. So I'm pretty sure for export too. Yep, you can export data in CSV files, which are fine. We can take those CSV files, are comma separated files, which are basically like an Excel. So that would definitely work there. And again, you just might have to set up a macro to do that. So, okay, any other questions? Great questions, guys. Thanks. And when you get into it, and okay, I've used it. I use this a fair bit. I send support tickets. Okay, so I do this all the time. So don't feel bad if something doesn't seem to make sense to you, or you're not sure how to do it. I do this all the time, and I say this for any software: send a support ticket quickly, because getting the help will help you get past it. Otherwise, you get frustrated with the tool and then you don't use it because you couldn't figure out how to do that one thing. So. And you see here, you can even use text for speech for some of this. So there's lots of stuff going on. That was one of the features I talked about that Kurt added. So you can see all the options there with data point, your list and some of the other things. But basically, it's letting you connect text boxes and pictures, data like or web URLs. You can connect to a live web URL, video, picture, tables. Clocks. The clocks are neat. That's how the museum set up a huge screen with clocks of different times around the world. So there's a ton of things that the data point adds. Any final questions? And feel free to ask about sort of general presenting too. I thought the whole, data versus story, discussion was interesting. Thanks, Lex. Thanks for the feedback. Can you show us how to use chart? Good question. I think I avoided that one for a reason. So, look here, chart. Okay. Don't have anything prepared. Let's see what I could do. Okay, there's your chart. So that was really quick and dirty, but as you can see, all I did was I just created the blank chart, then I just connected it to the data source. So I'll just move it out of the way here, so it's not as, but you can see at a glance how fast that was to create the chart of the different ones there. So. And some of the options were here. You can copy the column names to be the first row of the data sheet. You can automatically shift just number of rows. So it gives you some options here for. So there's really been a lot of thought into this. Like Kurt's been working on this for over 21 years. So in order to connect the data to the chart, what I did was I created a chart, and as you could see, the chart originally didn't have this information. So then I just clicked on data point and then chart. And then what I did was I chose the data connection that I currently had in place. Now, in this case, I'm going to change it to the meter example, which only has one item on the chart. So in order to connect to anything, the steps are data point, list, and then you add a connection here of some sort, and then you create a query. So that's how it's always done. Step one is add a connection, find your sheet, then you go add query, and the add query is where you're going to connect to the data. And the data, once you're there, shows up over here, which is great because the fact that you get the preview data really helps you find that there. Then what you do is you just add the chart, add a blank chart, like and then click on the chart, click on data point, and then click on chart here, which connects this chart to whatever data. Then just go to your list and pull down which chart you want to work with. You're going to make me do a workout, aren't you, Lily? I'm not sure these are suitable for Pi, but let's see. I'd have to dig into that one. Sorry, I haven't used the charts as much for this. I've usually working with some of the other things. I apologize. But send in a support ticket and we'll be happy to, I think we should do a video on charts. I think that would be a good idea. Any other questions? Thanks, Lily. And yeah, and great questions. Now, I do have to, I'm fairly good with data point, but I'm learning new stuff all the time. My role is usually the marketing, and I do some teaching and training, but Kurt is the person who's the absolute, understands everything about it. So I'm continuing to learn. So, and I'll be happy to find out more about that part for you. And we'll make sure we get a video up about it. So once again, some of the possibilities. It's amazing what our clients are doing and what's being done. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This is the conclusion of the 2019 Presentation Ideas Conference. We have recorded most of the sessions. Other than a few glitches, we should have gotten most of it. We'll be putting those up over the next couple of weeks, and we will send out by email to everybody on the list who signed up, not only the people who are here now, but the people who registered for this session and couldn't make it. We'll be sending that out as well, so you can all access it. Please let us know if you found this useful, and we hope you'll come to future ones. And let us know what kinds of things you'd like to see. If you know somebody who would be a great presenter for this, do feel free to suggest them. We're always on the lookout for great new topics, great new presenters. So I was really pleased with a lot of the new ones we had this year. So. Would we email all the training sessions? Yes, all the training sessions will go out to everybody, whether they were in the session or not, as long as you were registered for the conference. Yes, you will all get that. It will be video format, probably on YouTube. So you can also monitor our YouTube channel if you want, which is another great way to follow us. And our YouTube channel has a ton of videos on how to do things. And feel free to suggest more, because when we a lot of the resources we do, a lot of the videos we create and all the different things are based upon what you guys ask for. So that's the kind of content we do. So this is our YouTube channel, and as you can see, we've got like tons of videos here. Some of them, this one had over 303,000 views. This one's 113,000 views. This one 109,000. So you can see we've got some of our videos are really quite popular. So there's just a wealth of information here about And they're not all just about using our stuff too, although a lot of them are, but there's a lot of great content here. So. Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks, Carrie, Fran. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it and found it useful. Okay, so until next time, we'll see you all. And as I said, feel free to reach out if any of you want to be affiliates or resellers or want to work with us further. I'd be happy to work directly with you. I do a lot of that. I'm the person who works with the affiliates and resellers, which is one of my favorite things to do. So I'd love to be in touch with those of you who are creating these things. And if you're customers who are creating cool stuff, yes, definitely contact me, because I want to see the videos and the pictures and see them in action. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.